Leadership is about vision and responsibility, not power. This quote by Seth Berkley exemplifies the Native activist Wilma Mankiller. Wilma was a leader who was motivated and humble in her approach. Growing up in Oklahoma, Mankiller was one of 11 children, a part of the Cherokee tribe, who lived a poor life. According to the book A to Z of American Indian Women, between the 1940s and the 1950s, the United States had decided that they didn't want to assume the cost of maintaining reservations or paying for the guaranteed cost of being a Native American. They implemented relocation programs that ensured Indians that the relocations would offer them good jobs and better housing opportunities. After realizing that this was an exaggeration, the family started to discover more triumphs in San Francisco. Wilma then lost interest in school and spent most of her focus in the San Francisco Indian Center. After years had passed, Wilma met her husband Hugo, who came from a wealthy Ecuadorian family. Shortly starting a family after, Wilma took over as a stay-at-home mother and housewife. Several years later, Wilma wanted to do more with her life and started attending school again. It was then that her and her husband started to have disagreements because he wanted her to be a stay-at-home mother. Still involved in the Indian Center, it was after the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s that fueled Wilma's passion to be a voice for those Native Americans that experienced the mistreatment by the government. Wilma wrote in her biography that the protesting on Alcatraz got her excited like nothing had before. She mentioned that it centered her and caused her to focus on her own rich and valuable Cherokee heritage. After losing her father, she began volunteering in the Native community, while also involving herself in the fight over the control of replacing the Indian land. Her marriage came to an end shortly after growing as an activist for the Native culture. Moving back to Oklahoma with her daughters, Wilma was quickly hired in the Cherokee tribe as an economic stimulus coordinator. Her skill in San Francisco led her to reach new heights, bringing in lots of grant money for the Cherokee environment and health systems. Following a deadly crash involving a head-on collision, killing her best friend and crippling her immensely, she also obtained a disease called muscular dystrophy, causing her to lose feeling in all of her body. Her long recovery allowed her to study the community, which led her to find solutions to a new way of life for the Native people. According to Ray Tyler of the National Women's History Museum, it was then that she adopted the Cherokee tradition of keeping a good mind. Her positive outlook encouraged her to tackle a new project once returning back to work, where she was able to construct a 16-mile water line and 20-house renovation project that helped some of the poorest members of the community. The praise that she had received encouraged her to run for the Cherokee chief position so she would be able to give more to the people, which no female had ever done before. After serving 2 terms, Wilma needed a kidney transplant and suffered from lymphoma and breast cancer. She continued her activism after chemotherapy by lecturing and emphasizing the economic problems associated with the American Indian communities. Her personal vision was one that brought awareness and made change within the Native communities. Through her struggle, she remained proactive in creating the best lives for the Indian people. Her mission statement would be one that would encourage relations between the governments and the Cherokee people in order to better the education and health care among them. She sacrificed not only her time, but also her relationships to make sure that she could actively influence the current systems. She was one person in large projects that always moved to make advances. Wilma was someone who was involved in projects that were much larger than herself. She listened to the people and learned through experience what it took to be an effective leader. After passing away in 2010, Wilma remains an inspiration to many, encouraging others to stand up for what they believe in and to continue pushing for the rights of the Native American people. Thank you.